understood. You said that was all. You said that was real. I thought enlightenment was Mithya.
Yeah, because it's see, everything's already enlightened.
That's right.
You're already enlightened.
Yeah.
So there's no
because
who is enlightened? Only that's enlightenment is a status, and a status is only for a jiva. It's right. No different than I'm smart. It's a status, but the I is never enlightened or not enlightened. It just is. It's just awareness. Awareness has no qualities inherent to itself.
So really, there is no enlightenment.
There is no enlightenment. That's what we have to explain what that means. We can't just say it. There is no enlightenment. You hear it a lot, don't you? You say there's no. But what does this mean? Well, now we just explained it. Because who is this I? Because since the I is for everything is Brahman. How can I own enlightenment? Who's owning it if everything is already Brahman? So everything's, you're also enlightened, so what's so special about me? Right? So it's quite funny. Kind of see through this game, and then it's just, just keep your mouth shut, and then they're talking about these dimensions. And
you just have nothing to say.
You got nothing to say, that's right.
Oh, I know. And then, yeah.
It's quite funny, actually. They just,
it's like, funny. It is all a bit of it.
So you really end up quite kind of alone in this journey, if you think about it.
I've definitely, find, that's what I'm finding. And just associating with everyone, friends and that, and you can just see through the whole thing is really everybody just wanting to get something.
Yeah.
It's all about getting and
yeah, it's the same story. It's so predictable. It's just there's nothing new. You can go to China, go to America. It's all the same, different culture, but behind, once you get to know them, it's just the same psychology that's driving human behavior, and that is I'm incomplete, and so I have a life and I have these passions and these goals, and it's sexy, isn't it? It's quite sexy for a person to be passionate, and like a salsa dance is more interesting than this, no doubt.
That's exactly right. I mean, passion is like a virtuous thing.
It's adored. It's looked up upon. It's encouraged today.
Yeah, it is encouraged.
As actually, there's nothing wrong with it. In fact, in one of the Upanishads, it says that before you know anything, first know who you are. And then you can know everything else about the relative world. But we do it the opposite. We know about everything, and we spend many lifetimes knowing about geography, how to communicate, how to be awesome, how to be charming, mathematics. But we never get into the essence, the fundamental knowledge, which is the most important. Yeah. So we're just reversing that ship now. So you see, this is the good news, because you don't really lose anything. This doesn't mean that we get to stop doing certain activities. It just means that find out what one's ultimately here for. When you do that, then you can still continue doing what you want, but you'll find that it has a different flavor to it. It has a sort of a healthier, vibrant...
Did you just say find out what you're here for? What did you say?
When you discover that truth, the absolute truth, then you can still go out and do whatever it is you want. Now, so we're not saying anything's bad, because it's all Brahman anyway. So, but you'll find that it has a different flavor about it. It's a certain virtuous navigation with intelligence that is no longer motivated by these superficial, gratuitous likes and dislikes.
So you're engaging in the world.
Exactly.
With not the need to get.
That's right.
It's just you're engaging in the world for either to serve or to...
Exactly. Whatever it is.
Whatever.
And you don't even have to worry about it, because Ishwara is being navigating, it's been doing you from the beginning. If you look back in your life, like everything you did, yeah, sure, in the moment we justify and say, I kind of like this event, I want to attend, or I kind of like him or her, I want to go talk. But if you look back and you look at the totality of the circumstances, you realize that it actually, there were so many variables that you couldn't help it but to naturally end up in that situation. So if you look back, you will see that there was a driving factor that was moving and animating and deciding and these different events. Like I met someone many years ago, and I was at a seminar and I was talking to a lady and we established good rapport. And the seminar speaker said, well, I'm going to do an official seminar, a paid course, and it was a business course, and she put her hand up, and I sort of had a rapport with her, and I put my hand up also, just because we were having a good connection. And then I ended up going to the course, and I met somebody else who ended up having a big impact in Andre's life. And that somebody else was actually close to that speaker. So all of these little events, they ended up leading one to where they're supposed to be. So it goes back to yesterday's teachings that we don't really do anything here. We're just sort of, we're imagining that we're doing it, because that's what the ego likes. It's self-assuring. It's sort of gives it confidence.
So it's purely the ego that thinks it's the doer. Is it purely the ego thinks it's the doer?
It's the ego that thinks it's the doer. Why? Because awareness in the form of Maya creates this jiva. And this jiva has a subtle body. Emotions, intellect, and ego. Ego is the doer. But obviously the doer needs something behind it, which is the intelligence, and intelligence is simultaneously motivated by the emotions. It's all one and the same. There's no separation between them. So so the subtle body is because everything is superimposed over the substratum. And the substratum is what? The self-consciousness. Just like every word, you can't have a word, no matter how beautiful it is, unless you have a piece of paper. So the subtle body gets written, so to speak, on this piece of paper, and then the subtle body, and then the jiva thinks, well, I am this, I am the word, rather than the paper. And the irony is, it's quite funny, the paper is never blank. The paper is never blank, because yesterday we said that Mithya and Satya, they're eternal, they're never separate. And we're going to get into a very interesting teaching today about what it means to further investigate about Ishwara, and what is Ishwara, and how is it that I can say that Satya and Mithya are in totally different dimensions, and yet they are not different. How is it that they're the same, but they're not different? We have to understand this, because the key to liberation is understanding Ishwara. Why? Because the point Ishwara too. The point, even the Vivekachudamani, which we can get into sometimes, says that the key to liberation is not knowing what's real, but knowing what's unreal. Why? Because it's easy to teach what is real.
Yeah.
Right? It's everyone does that, right?
Yeah.
Like, what is so difficult about saying, do you exist?
Are you aware?
Yeah. What's the big deal? End of story. But what happens later on? Doubts come up. Huh? You see? And they're so subtle that they just creep in there, and then we end up, the consequence of those doubts is we find ourselves, I'm still reading the scriptures, and if I'm honest to myself, I'm reading because I'm not quite sure. There's still some doubt in me about who I really am and what I am. That's because they're so intimately connected, the body and the self, that it's just challenging to discern who am I, and staying in that knowledge permanently. That's moksha. Not one-off, having an epiphany, which we all can have once in a while. You just go have ayahuasca or something, you'll probably have an epiphany, and it's going to last for a couple of months.
But then what's the point if it's dependent on an epiphany and not on a permanent shift of identity from the jiva to the self? The I has to have that permanent shift that I am the self and not the jiva.
Okay, so yeah. So with Lyndall seeking this knowledge and reading and doing all this stuff, it's just stand in the awareness of her doing that and know that she's really not going to she's not going to get anything out of that because it's all.
Because the one that's standing in awareness and the one that, see how you talk about Lindo as she's something other than you? The Atman and the Brahman are one and the same. So this is a time where, yes, we can start by talking like this, but eventually you're going to bring that I back to yourself. Otherwise you create another separation.
You sort of need to do that.
You need to do that, yeah.
First.
As a preliminary, as a prerequisite.
So you need to do that continue until you are
very clear that I am not this body and this mind. So we use that language as a means to help us, to remind us that I am, when I say I'm not referring to this body and this mind. So we say, Andre is going through a hard time. Andre is...
And it's just a way...
Yeah, you know what you're doing, right?
Yeah.
But you don't talk like this to the world.
No.
You just say, quietly, silently, it's not really me that is in pain. It's the body and the mind. It's very interesting because if a mom or a dad, all they do to their kid is say, if a kid comes up and says, "Oh, mommy, their tooth hurts," and they say, "Oh, mommy, I'm in pain," and if all of the daddy or the mommy says is, "No, dear daughter, no, sweetheart, you're not in pain. Your body's in pain." If that one little statement is enough to cause the child to go, "Oh, so I'm not the body. I'm something other than the body." It's so easy, but no parents do this.
I wish I knew that.
Yeah,
see? Doing that now.
And we don't even have to explain to them what we're doing. It's just that because they'll get it. They're sattvic enough to get, at least in the later part of their life.
And even, they do teach it with parenting, with behaviour. They instead of saying you're a bad boy or you're a bad kid,
it's more like
behaviour is bad.
Yes, yes.
It's not actually identifying.
A Vedanta teacher, a fanatic would say, you still got prarabdha karma from the past life and your vasanas are being intertwined and intermixed with your gunas, and so it's just an expression of them in this moment. But that's the idea. It's not the kid. The kid's innocent to it. Awareness is totally innocent. It just takes on a form which is under the spell of Maya through the 5 sheaths, which is the gross body, the pranas, the intellect, and the 3 gunas, and the vasanas. The jiva is under this.
5 sheaths, are they? No,
yeah,
not,
the 5 koshas.
Oh, so that's 1, so 3 down in the gross body.
Yeah, so you got the gross body, 1, 2, prana, mind, 3, 4, and the causal body is the 5. The whole causal body.
Okay.
You see?
Yeah, I don't know much about it.
We can get into detail, but I avoid some of these things because they're not that important for now. But
they're really interesting.
They're really interesting, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahano Bunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahe Tejasvina Vadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. May we be nurtured together, may we be nourished together, may we strive together, may our learning shine, may we not quarrel. Om peace. Mind if you just turn on the fan? It's gonna get, this thing's blowing out extremely hot air. Yeah, number one's fine. No, it's fine, it's just gonna rotate it around. Yesterday we began the teachings of Maya, which in some Upanishads they call Maya the unmanifest. And then Ishwara is a term assigned to that which is manifest. So this is now, let's take for example a tree. A tree is hello Sasha. A tree is manifest. So we can call a tree Ishwara. Now when a tree burns down, it turns into what? Ash. So the tree hasn't gone, it's just transfigured, transformed into a different element, into ash. So that is still Ishwara. But Maya is referring to that which is not yet. It's in potential. So, but in other Upanishads, they say that Ishwara 2 I'm talking about now, is both the manifest and the unmanifest. So I'm just mentioning this because it actually doesn't matter. It's just sort of a little distinction. But we can, for the sake of simplicity, say that Ishwara 2, that is Mithya, and everything underneath that blue line, is both the manifest and the unmanifest. But just keep that in mind, because sometimes I will refer to Maya for sake of technical reasons, and it's gonna help us a little bit later.
So is Ishwara just a synonym for consciousness, or
which Ishwara?
Is this what is Ishwara?
Yeah.
Synonymous with consciousness?
Ishwara 1 is synonymous with consciousness.
Yeah.
Ishwara 2 is synonymous with Mithya. The reason we see there is no Ishwara 1 and 2 in the scriptures, by the way, we discern this by intention, because in the scriptures they say Ishwara both as consciousness and Mithya, Satya and Mithya. And it's very confusing. So we say 1 is awareness and Ishwara 2 is the world, the dream.
So I meant consciousness in the form of a manifest form.
Well, they're together. There's no actual separation. Ishwara 1 and Ishwara 2 are non-separate. And today will be about understanding what this really means through different examples. Yeah, because if we say, see, this is the paradox, it's always a contradiction. If I say that there is Ishwara 1 and Ishwara 2, we're back in Advaita, duality. So we're contradicting reality as the total. See, how can you say the total is split into, when it's all of the same substance in a different form? It's still the total nevertheless. So we have to arrive to the ultimate understanding. There's ultimately no difference between Ishwara 2 and Ishwara 1. They're not the same, but they're not different either. Okay, keep that in mind. We'll get back into that and what that really means through examples. What I wish to do is, we're going to revise yesterday to clarify a few points as a summary, so we're both on the same page. Okay, so when the indweller, the self is not a doer. When the indweller is self-controlled and indifferent to the results of its actions, it lives happily in the body, neither acting or causing others to act. So this means that the wise person is settled and comfortable in their body, and the one that's identified with the self knows that they're not acting nor causing others to act, because it's Maya or Ishwara that's causing everything to act. And so how does this apply to you? Well, by re-identifying with the self, the doer is negated.
what's the indweller?
The indweller is a jiva that knows the truth. The self doesn't create a sense of doership, nor is it directly or indirectly responsible for the results of your actions. The idea that you are incomplete and inadequate causes doership and willful action. So all action and all desires are motivated by ignorance. Ignorance of what? Ignorance that I'm already whole, complete, and ever-present, and there's nothing missing. The self is indifferent to good and bad karma. A worldly person, on the other hand, is always preferring one over the other. I want, I don't want. But the self is indifferent to either, because it's all the self, it's all consciousness. If I say I don't like, what am I saying? Since it's all me, I'm saying I don't love myself fully. See, that's the underlining message. But if I say I also like, what am I saying? That I'm presupposing silently that I don't like its opposite. So that's why they remain indifferent, because they know it's all mithya, it's got nothing to do with me, consciousness, awareness. Because self-knowledge is covered by ignorance, you, that is the ignorant jiva, take yourself to be a doer. It has no choice. It associates itself to the body and the mind. And since the body and the mind are always in action, they're always doing, they're always thinking, they're always in pain, they're in sorrow, they're in happiness, they're in joy. And since I associate myself with the instrument that's experiencing that, I have no choice but to make the conclusion that I must be this body. That's the error, that's the flaw, that the world is under the spell of Maya, and it's accepted as normal. Nobody questions this. Just as the sun reveals objects previously hidden in darkness, self-knowledge destroys self-ignorance and reveals the self to be limitless and complete. If this was a dark room, and I show you a beautiful statue here, the most amazing sculpture you've ever seen, just breathtaking, tears start immediately. What happens when I turn off the light? Who's there? You don't even know if there's anything there, no matter if it's something ugly or beautiful. So you are synonymous with that light. You are that which shines and makes the world known, makes the world, and therefore you say it's beautiful. Well, why is it beautiful? Because there is a light shining and making that beautiful. Without that light, it doesn't matter who's there to know anything, since it's just darkness. So that's the analogy. When the intellect is aware of the limitless nature of the self and is solely committed to self-realization, its impurities are eventually destroyed. Meaning that despite all of the desires, when my sole desire is for self-realization, then automatically the actions performed are consistent with the karma yoga attitude, which is the right action and the right attitude of gratitude. And that alone purifies all of these desires that sort of lurk in our minds and are just a matter of time before a circumstance occurs that triggers it, and then we go, oh boy, I got so much work on myself. So that's why it's important to keep them under control, because every time we reiterate or repeat that vasana meaning an impression, we make that stronger, and it causes a stronger, brighter trail behind it. And that trail, despite everything occurring clear in the moment, that trail is still lurking behind, and it takes quite a long time for that trail to completely die off. So that's why it's important to always be mindful. This is where mindfulness comes in practice of your actions. And the question to ask is this bringing more peace to my life, or is this creating potential noise or distraction in the future? It's a simple self-inquiry question. You're just questioning your behavior.
So this desire for moksha, back to this again.
Okay.
I can't get.
Sure.
Is creating a vasana.
It is.
through the actions that I'm putting in.
Yes.
That
Everything creates a vasana.
Everything creates a vasana.
And you don't have to worry that it's creating a vasana, because what happens paradoxically is it cancels its own self.
Eventually it will cancel it.
Yeah, because if it remains a vasana, it becomes what? It becomes another intellectual exercise. You know,
Is this vasana from moksha is the only one that cancels itself?
No, see, through self-knowledge, this is not an academic practice. This is a teaching that through using of the teaching of Vedanta, we arrive to the ultimate conclusion. You don't have to hold this in. You can, I choose to, because I just love, I've got nothing else to do actually. Yeah. But it doesn't really matter, because you see, whether you hold something or don't, that's still the intellect, that's still mithya, but that's not, you got nothing to do with that, which is why it doesn't really matter if you hold a desire for it or not. But if you hold a desire for something that's worldly, there's nothing wrong with that either, but you got to question yourself, is what I'm holding my desire to bringing peace in my life, or is it causing distractions, which is ultimately causing me to spend less time abiding in the self as the self? Because this, by the way, is not a one-off. This is a lifelong practice, considering we said before that ignorance is so hardwired, which is why we have different wonderful teachers and gurus, like for example Andrew Cohen. He's a good example if you look him up. He had an epiphany, and he had a huge following, and after some time he realized that there was this anger coming up, there was these issues coming through, and so he wrote in his website, I'm sorry, but I'm going back as a hermit to work on myself. So that's what we say. It doesn't matter whether you know who you are or not. The ignorance is so hardwired that it comes back as soon as you start to think, oh, I'll figure it out, there's nothing else to do now. You can't do that, otherwise it will come back. It may not, but in most cases it does, especially in the West. Just one little image is enough to trigger that trail behind us, that vasana trail. Just one picture of for example, for a man or a woman is enough to cause the thoughts of erection, and then that just causes a whole cycle of disturbance. Yeah. So you're really taking care of your jiva, you see. You know you're not the jiva, but you're taking care of your jiva. Why are you taking care of your jiva? Because the jiva, Atman, is Brahman. Because you love yourself, it's all you. Because you have such utter love for yourself that you cannot help but to take care of your jiva. That's the point. So it's not about going, oh, it's the jiva, it's the mind, it's not me. There's Lindo, there's the world, I can eat whatever. It's not that. It's non-dual love. That's what consciousness is. That means you cannot, there's a natural it's not even a tendency. The nature of all is love. So why would you oppose that? Why would you contradict that, since it's all you anyway? So that's the logic why one that is liberated and knows the nature of Brahman as being all that is, cannot do, as he said yesterday, unvirtuous, immoral actions. Just because they love themselves as everything so much that it's natural to take care of your brother, your sister, and the world. And your own jiva. To the best of your ability. We're not saying you have to, because only a jiva thinks I have to. Remember, now you're surrendered to Ishwara. So Ishwara, you tell me what I should do. Because I don't know. My intellect is not smart enough. You're the great intelligence that drives and works on everything and causes the planets to be aligned and the world to work the way they do. I don't know how that works. I don't even know how my body works. In fact, I go to a doctor. I don't go close my eyes and fix myself. That's how not intelligent I am. So it's a humble approach. So you're surrendering your intellect to the greater whole, to the totality, which is Ishwara.
Sorry, another question.
Yeah.
I probably know the answer, but it's come up yesterday too. When you're in this in-between area, for example, general faith that I am awareness, but any glance internally will always find some pain or trouble, and I'll think it's me, and want to do something about it.
Right, got it.
Now, spiritually wanting to do something about it might be to remember, I've just been doing this. I'm the observer, so I can't do that which I'm observing.
Yes.
But initially that's just a thought that I'm.
Yeah, but you
have
still
some
know.
experience of.
Yeah, but you still know there's a thought there.
I know there's a thought there, and
so the awareness hasn't changed.
Sorry.
So the awareness hasn't ultimately changed. Only the process has. The feeling, and then the thought, or maybe it's just still a thought. But how is it that this entire storyline that you're going through is known from the beginning to the end? Because of existence, the fact that you exist, so it doesn't matter what's occurring. You're still there to observe the whole storyline.
Well,
okay.
This sounds a bit like infinite regression, because that would not be meaningful unless that is actually remembered at the time. So, you know, it's sort of like crawling between heaven and hell. So there you are with these competing thoughts, awareness, etc., versus I'm the body and I want to, yada.
Which is both thoughts, when they're both thoughts.
Yep.
You can't say this is awareness and this is thought, because even if I say this is awareness, I'm still awareness saying this is awareness.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. But I do find
competing thoughts, carry on.
What seems to be a useful thought to, such as I cannot be what I'm observing, therefore this stuff is. But initially it's just a thought.
It is a
thought. Another competing thought. It's probably no better than any other thought.
That's right.
But it might lead to something. It might awaken the intelligence.
It doesn't lead to anything. It just reminds you. Acknowledges and affirms the already existing reality, the truth of the existing reality. And that thought could be, for example, anything that I can witness is not me, 1, 2, 3, or something like that, like a rap.
I suppose now coming to stating your other question, I often find the thought reaches a dead end. It's like it just comes up as a thought, like an advertisement.
Yeah.
But if it's not really taken on board, then it really is no different to I'd like a Coca-Cola. It's just another.
Yeah. It's not taken on board. Well, it doesn't matter if it's taken on board or not, because that is actually happening all to the complex, the body-mind complex, and the mind and all of that.
Yeah, I can see it's all part of the journey. But I guess the real question would be then, well, here's the answer. If a good thought like that comes up, act on it, obviously, as best you can.
Yeah,
when I call act
to the best of your ability, There's nothing more you can do, because if you're acting to the best of your ability, then you can't accumulate good nor bad karma, because you said, I'm doing the best that I can.
I suppose the danger of this question is, if a thought comes up that's quite good, and you don't quite practice it, the danger with the mind will quickly say, well, that's not good enough. What's another strategy?
Right.
And here's where you get a regression of it that then the mind can go off into.
Yeah, well, that's how it is. I mean, the mind is like a vortex. It catches anything, and then it's just, it hangs on to it, and it can take one away. So your job is to see, it's not simple as just saying, just witness it. I get it. People just say, just witness your thought. Well, sometimes the pull is so strong that it just takes one anyway. And like we had a lot of this in the psychedelic, circles, where the person's so sensitive that just the one little glimmer takes them so far down, and they're unable to kind of get themselves out of it. So we subscribe karma yoga for that, because I get it. It's not as easy as it sounds. There's a closed lip saying that something's not being spoken in accordance to what you would like me to say.
That's okay. I think commitment there is the key term.
Okay. Shall we move on?
Sorry?
Shall we move on?
Yes.
Okay, cool. And you'll no longer be troubled by self-limiting thoughts. In other words, I am not filling the blanks enough. I am not popular enough. I am not beautiful. I am not tall, short, fat, thin, small, big, whatever, enough. That's all just when the subtle body, when the gross body, when one associates themselves with the body, which is always limiting by its nature, and so is everything else in Mithya since it's duality, then that's superimposed over the self, and then I say, well, I am not what I wish it could be otherwise. And so that's because we mistake that I for the body and the mind, or the intellect, or the emotions, or whatever it is. Like, I'm just too overreactive. It doesn't have to be physical, it can be even internal. I'm not smart enough, I'm not compassionate enough. All of these things, it's all mithya. So your job is to inquire, okay, well, first of all, the question, the fundamental question is, well, how is it that this is known? Like, how is it that this whole storyline is known? And you can also use like Byron Katie's 4 questions, you know, those like, is this true? Is this really true? And who would I be without this thought? So we're not discounting any of these techniques. Use whatever it is that helps. In fact, Byron Katie is awesome.
Yeah, what her she's the one that, she's the mirror. She's the lady that talks about mirror, like everybody.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, but she's got those 4 questions.
What are the 4 questions?
So is this true? So is this thought true? So if I get spun into some kind of a thought, is this really true about myself or another person, and I judge them? Is this really true? It causes you to sort of investigate. And then, is it really true? That's the second question. And then the answer is usually no. And then why? Well, it's not true because maybe I'm overreacting and I'm being triggered, and you know, I'm probably, maybe they're just not ignoring me, they're just totally immersed in their world. And then who would I be, and what would it be like if I had no thoughts of this? And that's pretty much freedom. You know, if I didn't have this thought, how and what would I be like? Well, I would be open. I would still come up to them and tell them, you know, how much I just appreciate them, despite them appearing like they're ignoring me. And then you do an opposite. It's called an opposite thought, which is as powerful as the first initial thought, and that is, well, actually, I'm not ignoring them. They're just so, they love their work so much that, you know, when they finish their work, they'll be happy and they'll come up to me and then we'll just have a good time. So you apply an opposite thought. So it's just, I like her because she does self-inquiry. She doesn't try to a traditional fix in your thoughts. She just simply takes the thought and dissects it and applies an opposite reversal to the thought. So it trains your mind to think in another way. That's quite useful.
I've heard a lot of her.
Yeah. Okay, we'll put pause on this. 10:40. Cool.
So I'll just throw in a favourite line of hers, I think, is the universe never makes mistakes.
Never makes mistakes. Yeah. Even if it looks like it's a mistake, it's not. Okay. So yesterday, the basis of the whole theme was that, quote, the self is not the doer. I am not the doer. You're not the doer. You're not the eater. You're not the thinker. You're not the one that gets enlightened. You're not the one that's not enlightened. You're not responsible for anything that happens in life. Despite the contrary, mass belief that I am responsible and own responsibility. And we're not negating that, because that's true as long as you're ignorant and believe that you're the person. So see, nothing's negatable ultimately. It depends on what point of view are you looking at it from. It's just like this. Okay, this body, my body looks different from your body. We can all agree with that, yeah? Okay, so from this point of view, it looks different. But what happens when we reduce it to subatomic particles? From that point of view, it's the same. So which one's true? Is it different or is it the same? That's mithya. It's always relative. That's why there's so much confusion and arguments, because it depends on where you're looking at it from. That's what mithya means. It's relative reality. It's related to something else. And we also talked about that the Satya and Mithya, they are in 2 different orders of reality. It means they're completely exclusive. And Satya is never affected on whatever happens in Mithya. That means no matter what happens in the world, you are never affected by it. Now, if you say, yes, I am, well, that's because there's still a link between the body and the word I. Okay? So the Satya is completely uncontaminated and nothing, just imagine this, the customs are so strict that nothing can penetrate Satya. Okay? So that's why we say pure consciousness. There's just consciousness. There's nothing else but consciousness, and you are that. And so whatever happens in Mithya, including to your jiva, it doesn't affect you. For example, we talked about the dream yesterday. The dreamer is not affected by the character in the dream. So if the character in the dream commits suicide or has some kind of an amazing experience, the dreamer in the waking state is completely unaffected. Sometimes even wake up and then the experience carries over into the waking. That's why we have nightmares, some of us. And then we go, oh! But then we realize, oh, it was just a dream. And then you're relieved by that knowledge. It was just a dream, and there's this relief. So the dreamer in this case is like Satya, and it's completely uncontaminated by anything that happens in your life, including all of the actions that these bodies have ever done or said. That's what, in the Christian they call it the original sin. Original sin is referring to the ignorance. That's the term they use for ignorance. That is, you're innocent, but they just don't explain it properly. They sort of dump it on you. Well, we're saying there is no sin because you got nothing to do with sin or goodness. So you've never done anything good nor bad in your life because you are consciousness. Consciousness it's uncontaminated by anything that happens in Mithya. So they're completely different orders of reality.
I always thought the original sin was just getting the identification wrong.
You could look at it that way too. Yeah. But I don't know. See, the language there is so tricky. I don't know when they refer to the Father and the Son. Are they referring Father as the God, Ishwara 2, or is Father Ishwara 1? And the Son, is the Son the experiencing witness or the non-experiencing witness? So we just sort of, we acknowledge that, okay, it's beautiful. In fact, I love A Course in Miracles. It's a great course. But it wasn't until Vedanta came along to clarify the whole course of how it really should be. Because it's still confusing when I hear about Father, Son, original sin, and all these other terms. So we respect it, but we just, we use something that's a lot more descriptive. Okay. And this is just reading some notes. And if there is a connection between the self, you, and Mithya, then we said there is no enlightenment. Because Mithya is a change. Everything's moving and changing. So if I had a subjective enlightenment, and you also had your enlightenment, then how do we know which enlightenment is real? Is yours better than mine? That would be very problematic, right? So if they're in the same orders of reality, Satya and Mithya, then we can throw all of these scriptures and we'll totally waste it. There's no freedom. We are bound eternally. But we know that's not the case because you cannot dispute your awareness from mine. What do I mean by that? Well, let's go back to the example. Can I dispute that this body is different from yours? Yes, from this point of view, right? Yeah, the features are different. Can we dispute that on a subatomic level?
Probably not.
Probably. Even there we can, because the proton and a neutron, right, makes a subatomic particle. But, and that's also dependent on the instruments of science as far as they can see. But let's go even smaller. Okay, let's go even, what's beyond that? Consciousness. See, we can't dispute beyond consciousness because your awareness is no different than mine. So it doesn't matter what our intellect is like, we'll all have to be aware in order to know that there's something going on here. So awareness is equal. So on that level, everyone agrees. So for that reason, we do have freedom, because if one re-identifies with that alone, then they're free of the ever-changing world. Okay? And then we used two examples yesterday of how Maya takes in something that is all-pervasive, omnipresent, omniscient, and separates it and makes it appear like there is distance and there is time and there is difference, even though it's the same. And the two examples that we used were, first of all, we talked about if the self is omnipresent, okay, that means there is no place where I am not. There's no place where consciousness is not. That means when I am over there when I am here. That means when I'm here, I'm everywhere. Okay? But it doesn't feel like that. It doesn't feel like I'm over there. It feels like I'm over here. So that's a direct contradiction of the omnipresent and omniscient terms, isn't it? Okay, why is that? It's because Maya makes it appear like there is only consciousness in this body. And the consciousness is different from your consciousness, because I am looking at the world from here. Okay? That's the Maya's trick. That's how he plays that trick. And the second example that we used was, we actually negated the first example through the second example, which is, we showed an object, it doesn't matter if it's a person or anything else, and we said, where is that object appearing? Is that object appearing over there, or is it appearing here where I am? And then we said, well, the reflection is causing the image to be appearing in the brain. That's just a physical metaphor. And the image is where I am at now. Yes? And who is aware of that image? You are. And who is this you? Consciousness. And how far away are you from that image? Just no space. Okay? If you got some trouble, just take a feeling. Okay? If there is joy and you're just happy for someone, you're just very happy to see your son, your mom, your dad, or whoever. Is that joy appearing over there, or is that felt over there, or is that felt where where your consciousness is, which is here? And how far away are you from that feeling? They're so together. They're like air and that fragrance. They're so together. That's what we mean by Satya and Mithya are always together. And this isn't about an experience to experience the air as air. Like in yoga, they try to merge with this lower self, the small self tries to merge with the higher self. It's just simple knowledge. So there's no difference how the enlightened one perceives the world from how an ignorant person perceives the world. They just know that the world that they're perceiving is not real, including the body. It's just knowledge. It's simple. Okay, so we use those two examples to discover that everything, as you cannot deny in your life, when I say in your life, I mean to this jiva's life, nothing has ever happened, nothing's ever been tasted, smelt, felt, heard, or you haven't ever seen anything other than where you were. Is that not true? Of course it's true. It's never occurred there. It's where you are, that's where it's occurring. So this example demonstrates how Maya makes it appear like it's out there, and then with knowledge, when you apply these principles, it destroys that construct, and it makes you, well, it cannot be that way, because now we just did the experiment and we realize that it's happening where I am at. And since consciousness is all pervasive, the natural conclusion is everything is consciousness and I am that.
there's really no location where all this.
There's no location. Yesterday we also talked about things appear to move. So another example how Maya tricks us is when this body is moving, walking, it appears like things are coming closer, yeah? Even when you're driving. But see, but that implies that you're the body, doesn't it? That contradicts the nature of who you are, which is omniscient, omnipresent, which means it has no need to move because it's everywhere. When I'm here, I'm over there. So therefore, because I'm here, I'm everywhere. But it appears like it's moving. Why? So what's happening is, imagine you are like, you're just completely still. You never move. Totally still. And the world, instead of moving, look at the world as just changing from one frame to the next. And the collection of these frames cause the storyline to appear. One moment I'm in this room, and the next moment I'm in the car, and then the next moment I'm at the airport, and then the next moment I'm eating dinner. You never moved. You were just, there was just ever-present, ever-still awareness, observing the ever-changing forms which, by the totality of them, cause you to see the world as a seemingly consecutive time-based storyline. Okay, so that's how Maya tricks us once again to appear like it's, but until you investigate your reality, you see, well, I don't ever move. And it's not an experience, by the way. The enlightened one doesn't experience like, oh, I'm totally present. There is still duality for the enlightened one, okay? Because, see, we're not denying duality because it doesn't contradict non-duality. See, we can't deny that this body looks different from that body. We can't deny that. So we fully acknowledge duality, but it doesn't contradict non-duality. Why? Because non-duality is the understanding that despite the forms looking different, they are still of the same essential nature, Brahman.
So it's a non-duality appearing as duality.
Yes. Why did this object 1 look different from object 2? It's because Maya is, this is summary, Maya is manufacturing the difference out of the 5 elements. And those 5 elements we talked about yesterday is what this whole creation is made of. So now we don't even have to, inquire into. Now, of course, if science breaks down Earth, it will say it's subatomic particles.
I worked out how I sort of looked into that because those 5 elements have certain, with sacred geometry, they have certain
mixture
patterns of vibration, and those 5 different patterns fit into the table of
periodic table of elements.
Table, and certain elements have that same 5.
Absolutely.
Vibration.
I mean, you take nitrogen, carbon dioxide, and hydrogen. It's just mostly air. You take fire. Well, it's mostly fire. Okay. At some atomic level, as we discussed, there's actually no difference. And but from the point of view of the relative position, it's true. So it's always true from the point of view where you look at. That's why we, in the beginning, have this no quarrel in the statement. We don't argue, because by arguing, we are denying and neglecting the essential essence, which is in all, which is everything, which is Brahman. So by arguing, we're denying that, and therefore we're reinforcing a sense of separation. So what is Vedanta's point of view? Basically, Vedanta reduces everything to a point of view which you can no longer reduce to. Like we did an example. From a form element, it's different. but from a subatomic level, there's a lot less argument until some smart ass comes up and goes, well, there's a proton and a neutron. But another smart ass can come, well, what's inside that? What's that made out of? Well, it doesn't really matter, because when you come down to consciousness, you can't argue, because consciousness is that which pervades all. That means there is nothing higher than consciousness, because if I say there's something higher than consciousness, what is the contradiction? How can I say that when there's, who is there to know about it if there is nothing to be conscious about that which is higher than consciousness? Okay? And there is nothing lower than, smaller than consciousness. Same story applies. If there is something smaller, then what principle is there which, because of which, that which is smaller than consciousness is known? Okay, so, and everything in between the highest and the lowest is also known, because, as I said, it's omniscient and omnipresent. It's everywhere. And then the last note, before we move on to the next part, is where do ideas about reality come from? Like, where does the idea about reality, uninvestigated that is, come from for a worldly person? Well, it comes from the mind, intellect, and the subtle body. And because the subtle body is always dominated and under the influence of the gunas, including its vasanas, it's no wonder that we have so many disagreements on an ignorant point of view. Because one could be under total spell under tamas, which is the veiling power, it covers the intellect. And to them, from their point of view, what they're saying is absolutely true. But from a sattvic point of view, the one has clarity, what they're saying is absolutely true. So to them, it also makes sense. So it goes back, do not quarrel, because I am neither sattva nor tamas nor rajas. I am that which is free of them. Okay? And that this statement reminds us that how subjective we interpret reality. And then we believe that's true, which is a mistake. So we just go back to that, which is the essence of all things, which is consciousness. And on that level, all disagreements stop. Because even if someone were to argue, what does that mean? They still need to be conscious of the argument to argue. So they're contradicting their own arguments without even investigating. But if they were to investigate it, they would conclude, well, I also have to be conscious to even hear your opposing view in order to express my view. So do you see how there's nothing that can go outside consciousness? My teacher, James Schwartz, he said this one line and totally everything made sense. He said, the bus stops here. When you understand this, there's nothing else after that. So there's nothing, that's why seeking stops. There's no more motivation to investigate anything more. I remember in my years, it was like, there's so much stuff in mind. There's so many good stuff, right? You got these angels, and you got these modalities, and you got things to work on. You got emotion management, and you've got, improving your mind. It's just so fascinating to be indulged in Maya, isn't it? So that's why the journey never stops, or it does stop eventually, for one that is still in this dualistic view. And then when you realize that you are that, because of which everything is known, including every one of your experiences, including Vedanta itself, then there's nothing beyond that. Because if there is something beyond that, I still have to be conscious of that. So it goes back to awareness, self-existence, Sat Chitananda, self-existence, consciousness, bliss, which we will get into that term. Okay, it's 11 o'clock, and let's revise this in a mind map. A little bit of a learning tool. So the self is not a, the self is not a doer. It's this little picture there, that's Ishwara, the world. Animals, the sun, everything. So we're now talking about Ishwara 2. This is the summary. Ishwara 2 is the doer, yes. Ishwara 2, this is the doer. This entire field is the doer. Because look, we're just categorizing it to help you see how the mechanics work. But as a total, that whole field is the doer.
And on a jiva level, the causal body is the doer of the jiva.
On the jiva level is the jiva has no access to the causal body. Jiva only has access to the subtle body. The causal body is out of it. See how it's out of its limits? These gunas are not in jiva's control. Neither are these vasanas. That's why you can be totally peaceful and suddenly have an impulse to go out and do something, or that's why these thoughts just come out of nowhere, completely unsolicited, uncalled for, and they just arise. Why? And did you do that? No way. If you had control, you would say probably, I don't want any thoughts, please. Just leave me alone. But it doesn't happen, does it? They just arise completely unsolicited. Why? Because the vasanas, this is completely out of your territory.
So they are doing the jiva.
Yes, and the jiva is what? Nothing but a collection of personalities as that makes you who you are. And what is that personality? That personality is the karma, the vasanas, and the three gunas. Now, what's the use of knowing that? Well, here's the use. The jiva has control to influence this causal body. This is in the self-help industry we call the conscious mind has the control to influence the unconscious mind. And some of them use it through hypnosis or different modalities. So once again, we're not discarding anything. We're just letting you know how it works. If you want to work with it, go ahead. Okay?
Do you mind saying a bit more about the relationship? I've forgotten what we said before. The relationship between Ishwara 2 and consciousness?
We're going to get into that the next part. Let's summarize this. Ishwara 2 is the doer. Need to understand this. Else, need to go through the teaching again. And we're going to continue with this so we completely are certain and convinced that Ishwara is the doer and I, as this person, am not the doer. It's the key to moksha. And the Bhagavad Gita chapter 7 to 12, that's what we're doing now, deal with this. Definition of Ishwara 2, which we covered yesterday, is something other than what's real and something other than what's not real. Okay, we're going to get into it. I know it's a statement that just everyone just goes silent, like, what does this mean? I know, I can see it. Okay, makes the self feel like it's in the body. We did that experiment. Hence, when the body moves, it feels like the self is moving, but in reality, the I never moves. And it's just an analogy. Self is like space. In other words, space is everywhere. It has no need to be anywhere because it already is space. In other words, wherever I go, I am there, and I am there when I am here. Hence, I am everywhere. It's all pervasive, omniscient. Why does it appear like the body is... Why does it appear like I am moving? Why does it appear like you are moving? If you move your head right now, why does it appear like you just moved? Because of that subtle connection between Satya and Mithya. They're so intertwined together that even if you have this knowledge, it still appears like it's moving, but now you have knowledge. Yet it appears like, but it's not actually the case. So nothing really changes the one who knows and the one who doesn't, you see? This is not an experience. That's who we're clear on that. There's nothing that an enlightened person is different from anyone else. They just know this as knowledge, and you're like, okay, paradoxically it does end up changing your perception, but not in the way that one would think. Not in a way that, well, for me the world's different than yours. It's different, but it's the same, which is ironically the definition of Ishwara, isn't it? It's different, but it's the same. Doership is I am the body. And how to dismiss this belief that I am the body? One of the fastest ways to do it is just to say, do I know about this body? Yes. See, if you were the body, you would have no capability to know anything outside the boundaries of the body. You would only know about the blood and the thoughts contained in the edges, in the envelopes of this body. But you know a lot more, don't you? You know the body and other bodies. You know your body and the world. How is that possible? That contradicts I am the body. I know about this body, including other bodies, so I cannot be either. I must be the knower which knows about whatever it's observing. Yeah? And it's created by ignorance, the sense of I do, I act, I say. It makes the self feel like the body. And nobody questions this. It's accepted as normal. Origin of ideas. So as long as one feels that they're the doer, they're the thinker, then the direct consequence of that is, well, I'm incomplete. And so they end up being motivated to chase for objects in the world.
Can I bring up
an
objection, sort of in the mind?
Yeah, cool.
No objection, but I thought that easily, anyway, what it is, with a computer, say, which is similar to the mind in a sense.
Yeah.
So if I can get this right. In a sense, it can be aware of itself, but it's not separate, if you know what I mean. Like, if you typed into a computer,
right, got it.
Asked anything about its circuits, its surface, any part of its physical, it would seem to be aware. Seeming might be the answer to that. It's not.
Okay.
It's just words on paper, I guess.
I'll answer that like this. If I put a red filter in front of your eyes, will you see the world anything but red?
No.
Okay. If I put a blue one in front of your eyes. So the filter is the mind, which is always contaminated or under the influence of the gunas and habits. But who's the one that's looking through it? Who is the light because of which the world is known? Who is the looker? You are?
Yes, I am.
Okay. That looker is the light, awareness. So the mind needs the light, awareness, consciousness to be, and it looks like it's aware of itself because it's superimposed over the self. And so when the self looks, it sees the red world, it sees the world as it is, and it goes, whoa, this is my experience, this is my mind.
It's dawned on me too there that if as is the case, the mind has excessive rajas, then there will be doubts about anything that's outside of the normal.
That's right, it's called an unqualified student.
So the answer there is about not to take the doubts too seriously, just be aware of it.
Well, they're not going to even get into that situation because by the time they do, their mind is so erratic, a new thought has already popped up. So
I was thinking myself there that because little doubts are enough to take you off. You know what I mean?
Right.
You don't even go into them. It's like, there's a bit of a doubt.
You need to bring those out. And I like that you're asking because my job is to answer every single doubt that comes up.
So I missed the first point.
You need to bring them up and I like what you're doing so that I can address them. See, that's we call it the Shravana stage, the Manana. That's the second stage of Vedanta. All doubts are resolved. There's no doubts. There's no questions that come up. Because if there is a doubt, that means I still don't, understand the full picture. And since I am the full picture, I don't understand myself. And where is the freedom in a little part that remains yet uninvestigated?
That's my sense of it. Yeah, it's a bit like the notion of threading a needle. As long as there's a little bit of cotton that's sort of frayed, you won't be able to get through.
Yeah. Isn't it just if the body mind has doubts, are they going to always?
No, doubts leave. They leave. There is no doubts once we go through the teaching. Zero doubts. Because if there is a single doubt, where's the freedom in that?
Well, if you are awareness, watching doubts, watching this, watching that.
Okay, I get what you mean. So, okay, it's still going to occur, just like, sure. Desires and but now there's knowledge that's still occurring, but that's just got nothing to do with me. So there's no, it only becomes a doubt if there is a part that I still identify with. Otherwise, it's looked as Brahman also, you see? Because everything is Brahman. So there's no judgment, there's no potential to even call it a doubt, or potential to call it an epiphany, because it's all known to be Brahman anyway. Huh?
So it's just all Brahman.
It's all Brahman.
As all
forms. This is no different than the worst thought in the world or the best thought in the world. It's all just thoughts. Your thoughts, and this is also a thought. And it's all Mithya anyway. Yeah? So if you want to say there's a doubt, you might as well just say, yeah, I had this pop up in my mind as a doubt, because it's the same constituents. Vedanta's point of view is to reduce everything to consciousness, where you can't shrink any further on that level. Therefore, there's no argument or questions about anything, because if you break down any thought, you get consciousness. You break down any doubt, you get consciousness. You see? But on from a limited point of view, from the one that's looking at the subjective reality as Mithya, then there's always a point of view which can be negated, because as soon as you look at it from another point of view, then it cancels out what appeared to be the best point of view in the world. So there's no rest, there's no freedom for someone that's stuck in samsara. I guess the self and you is not responsible for the results of actions. It's directly nor indirectly, which we covered yesterday. Even though it's Maya is a power in consciousness. Even though Maya is a power in consciousness, consciousness is not responsible for the actions directly or indirectly. We used that with the dream analogy yesterday. And what happens in Mithya, it doesn't affect Satya. Zero connection between the two. Just like the dream life doesn't affect the waking life. And they're both, Satya and Mithya, they are both in the same order of the one reality. Not different, in the same order of one reality, even though they have no connection. So now,
you said they were in different orders.
So now let's investigate, how do we arrive to the fact that they're in the one same total, and yet they are both inseparable, but they're not the same. See, a lot of contradictions, yeah? Okay, let's begin the teaching. Okay, number 11. So apparent reality, which is Ishwara 2, apparent means it's only as real as it appears in the moment, is not the same as the self. It's not the same as the self, because it's always moving and changing, and the self is that which is always the same, but it's not different from the self either. Okay, so let's resolve this contradiction. And if you can understand that, that's freedom actually. Then you're free to go. Okay. Is moonlight different from sunlight?
It appears different, but it can't be different.
Okay. Any answers?
It's a reflection of the sunlight.
Yeah. So is the moonlight same as the sunlight, or is it different from the sunlight?
Same, but it appears different.
Yeah, it's the same, but it's different. basically. It is the sunlight, but it's not the sunlight. It's not the direct sunlight, is it?
No.
Huh?
So everything's the same, but with the reflection, it all is different.
Yeah. And what is the moon in this analogy? The reflecting medium. Okay? So the reflecting medium is what? That's the jiva. That's like the subtle body. So if the reflecting medium is full of desires and passions, it's still going to reflect the original sunlight, but the result, because of the nature of that medium, it's going to demonstrate the equivalent qualities to its nature. That's why all jivas are different, you see? But the original light is the sun. Okay? You get that? So that's the example when we say it is the same, but it's not also different. A little bit more clear now? Let's go into a second example and drill this down even further.
The essence
is always...
The essence is the same.
Yeah. Okay. Let's take the example of the wave and the ocean. Okay, now just forget about everything you've heard before, because this came up a lot in other teachings.
Yeah.
Are you the wave or are you the ocean? What do I mean by you? I mean you, consciousness. Which one are you?
The ocean.
Huh?
Ocean, clearing as a wave.
No?
The water. Where's the only
On
teachers?
the water.
Yeah, you see? Okay. So let's take this example. So the wave, I don't just mean waves on the shore. I mean the whole ocean is pretty much just waves.
Okay.
So the waves are like different forms, the world, that is, the universe, other galaxies, planets, supernovas, stellars, black holes, everything. Now, so there's infinite forms everywhere. I mean, we can just see however many different forms here, so that's pretty obvious. We all agree there. Now, who is the power and the intelligence that causes these forms? Because of what are these forms different? Because of what are these waves different? Because of the ocean. Yeah? So without the ocean, the waves cannot be, and the waves cannot, and without the waves, the ocean can. So what's the difference? They're one and the same. Okay? Now, what is the essential nature of both the ocean and the wave, of Ishwara and the form? What is the constituents, the essential nature of both of them?
Water.
H2O. Okay? So, H2O in this example is Satya, consciousness. And it's, you see how they're not separate, they're not different, but they're also not the same. You see? Where is the separation between the wave, the ocean, and the H2O, the water itself? How can you even contemplate when everything is all of them together as one total? Okay? So this is what we mean by knowledge. This is not an experience. It's simply the knowledge that yes, there are forms, this body, this mind, these doubts, these certainties, these epiphanies, these peace, joy, love, everything. There is all these forms in form of waves, and the great intelligence called Ishwara is causing those waves to occur as they do, but I am neither of that. I am that because of which both the ocean and the wave is existent, is possible, and I am never separate from either. So where, considering this is one wave, that's another wave, that's another wave, that's another wave, that's another wave, this is another wave, a cockroach is another wave, all stemming from the ocean, where is the difference between us if I am neither, but I am that because of which both of them cannot exist, and I inherit and I am the essence of both of them? Where's the difference? Yeah, it's only in mind. The wave is still free to say, well, I am separate, but even if it says I am separate, it's still part of the ocean. So it's just wasting its time trying to fix its stuff and say it's separate or it's together, because the moment what it says, the essential nature is it's neither the wave nor the ocean, but it's the H2O, because of which the ocean and the wave are both of the same nature. So that means what? No matter where I am, no matter where I go, I, Brahman, consciousness, am also there. That means I, in the form of this body, this body, this body, this phone, this floor, I am everywhere. And this is not an experience, this is simply an understanding. That's why we call it self-knowledge. Not self-experience, self-knowledge. And this is in the West, why the Westerners, they won't worship things here in this world. They say it's contaminated. We don't want to worship here. We want to go to a different realm. You know, we want to worship God. We don't want to worship these figures on earth. But they don't understand that everything is H2O. It doesn't matter if it's a thought, it's another galaxy, if it's aliens, if it's a person, if it's a murderer, if it's a saint. It's all the same nature, which is why it says here, those who see no difference between a humble Brahman endowed with this knowledge and a cow, an elephant, a dog, or a dog eater are wise, because they see everything as themselves. In fact, I made a little mind map to show you this in a different form. Because see no between a humble and enlightened Brahman and a cow poop. It's all the same. On the surface it looks different, but if you investigate the nature, the essence of both is exactly the same. So how can you even judge if that which is judged is also me? It doesn't make sense.
Just thinking out loud, because it might be handy. Imagine a different universe where waves were, an ocean of waves, where those waves were like us, they could actually have thoughts and feelings. So a particular wave might compare itself with other waves.
Okay, got it.
That's
okay.
Interesting.
No, how is it that idea, there was a thought.
Yeah.
Was that a metaphor, by the way?
Yes, I was trying to look at it in terms of like the tendency is to think of myself as an important person in this world,
right.
important to me at least,
right.
etc. And yet if you're watching a Walt Disney movie where waves had thoughts and feelings,
right.
it would seem very laughable. For a wave to be concerned about its future and
right. Because it just
and so on and so forth.
As a peak and then it comes down. Yeah. So you can think whatever he wants. Oh, I am the king of the world. I'm President Trump. I've got the power. But it's going down like everyone else. And Ishwara doesn't care. You're like a leaf that falls off a tree. The jiva, that is. To the ego, this is like totally uncool to hear. But you are the total, because you're neither. You're that because of which both, the whole world is off. Okay? And this perhaps has so far clarified a little bit of an understanding of the nature of reality, including Maya, how they're always together. Maya and Mithya and Satya, they're inseparable. They're different orders of reality, and yet they're completely inseparable simultaneously. And this metaphor should clarify a little bit, perhaps a lot, what that actually means. Cool. Oh. Okay, Jiva needs something to worship. Yesterday we talked about how the mind has this tendency to just go off into the fairyland. Now, just because we understand this analogy that I am that because of which everything is off, H2O that is, as a metaphor, it doesn't mean now that I just rest in that understanding and go, well, you know, nothing, I'm invincible, I'm immortal, right? You still need some idol, because we're still human beings, we're still on earth, and we still have these minds. We're just like bulls, they just run off into the fairyland. So for that reason, a jiva needs something that is a symbolic representation of this knowledge, whatever it is. For me, it's Krishna. For you, can be Jesus. Another can be a baby Buddha, or a Ganesh with a full stomach, implying fullness. It can be whatever it is, so that the mind always has something to remind itself of. Because remember, ignorance is hardwired. So despite gaining this knowledge, the world will by default tend to suck one into its own version, because the world is sexy, it's attractive, it's fantastic. And this fascination causes the superimposition over the knowledge, the self-knowledge. For that reason, we need an idol to always remind us. And I'll give you a story of a man with many, many desires. And he was crazy desire, full of desires. He wanted so many things, so many idols and so many ideas and so many things that he just desired. And he couldn't hold himself back. It was distracting him. So he heard about a story of a guru who had a special mantra. And if this mantra is uttered, then the mantra will cause the great genie to appear and fulfill the woman's any wish. So the man, as soon as he heard this, he ran off to the guru in utter excitement, and he says, hey, look, I kind of have a problem here. I have just so many desires, and I heard you got a special mantra. Could you please just share it with me? And go, nah, it's not for you. Just go away. And the man, okay, well, it's too bad. And then the man goes back, and then desires are so strong, it's killing him. He has to go back. And he says, look, I mean, I told him to go back, but I really need this. I really need, to fulfill my desires. I mean, I'm so passionate. No, it's not for you. Just go back. The man goes back in disappointment. And then he tries to hold himself back. And then he just can't take it anymore. And he goes back to the guru and goes, hey, look, man, like, I am just finished. I'm toast. I need this mantra. I've got so many things to do. And the guru is like, oh my God, this guy's getting on my pain in the ass. So he gives him a mantra and he goes, so the man thanks him, thank you very much. And the man goes away. And then he utters the mantra and he goes, and then a big genie comes up, pops up, and the genie is like 12 feet, beautiful, muscular person like a Shiva. And he goes, hello, my master. Thank you for calling me. How can I serve you? And the guy's impressed. He's like, whoa, this is pretty cool. So you can do anything for me, mister? Yes, I will do anything for you. Say any wish and I'll fulfill it for you. And the guy thought, this is really cool. This guy's not joking. And the genie says, by the way, there's the fine print, and I think you need to know about it. I kind of have a fetish for human flesh. If you don't keep me busy fulfilling desires, I'm gonna have to eat you. And the man thought, well, there's no problem for me. I got so many desires. I'm gonna keep this guy busy forever. So the first thing he asked was, can you please see up there the most beautiful view in the country? Can you please make me a huge castle? And the genie looks, no problem, I'll go up there and do that for you. So the man's very happy and he's like, I'm gonna get the castle. He's doing his work, and then 15 minutes later, the genie comes back, knocks on the door and says, what else would you like me to do, master? He says, what do you mean? You finished with the castle? He says, yes, I am. And he looks up and it's this incredible, beautiful castle built, finished, better than you could ever imagine. and he enjoys, but then the genie starts to get kind of like this real passionate about. He wants to eat him because now he's got nothing else to do. And he asked him, anything else, master? He says, okay, I would like this also. So the genie does that, comes back a couple minutes later, and the guy is like very quickly realizes, oh my God, this guy is so good at what he does, I'm gonna probably run out of my desires here. So he keeps him busy, so the genie doesn't eat him, until one day he just starts to kind of lose his potential creativity. He can't even, like, every desire he could think of is being fulfilled. So he goes back to the guru and says, yeah, look, this guy is really good at what he does, thank you for the mantra, but is there any way to slow him down, like control him? And says, no, look, you asked for the mantra, it's your responsibility, buddy. And the guy walks back and keeps the genie more busy with some useless desires, different versions of what he's already got. And the genie is just, gets very close to eating him because it takes much longer to think about what he wants. So the guy runs back up to the guru and says, look, man, I'm in trouble here. This guy is really, can't eat me, and I get that, but I need your help. No. Look, you asked for this. I told you you're not ready. I told you this is not for you. You need to go back, and that's your responsibility. So the man walks in disappointment and just uses his last resources for the desires creation, and he runs out of he's hopeless now, and he gets a few more minutes of break to walk to the guru the third time and say, oh, please help me. He just totally surrenders to the guru and says, please just let me know how to control this guy. He's too good at what he does. It's just endless. And he goes, okay, I want you to tell him this. I want you to tell him to build a big long pole, like about 100 feet tall. It's about 60 meters. And tell him to tell him this. And so the man goes back and he goes, Genie, how can I serve you, master? He's like, drooling. And he says, yeah, why don't you just go build a pole over there, 100 feet tall. And I want you to climb up the pole. And then when you climb to the top, I want you to slide back down. And when you come down, I want you to climb back up and then slide back down. And then keep doing this until I tell you to stop. So the genie does that. And the man's like relieved. So what does this mean? It means that your mind is like that genie. If left untamed, if left uncontrolled, if left in this world of desires, it will endlessly keep creating more desires, and it will never leave you alone. For that reason, you need to give it some idol to worship, something that will keep this mind busy. That's called karma yoga, that will keep it completely immersed in its play, so it doesn't run off into the world and starts to eat you. Like eats little by little, and the life starts to come out, and it drains the system. It makes the body old and the mind prematurely old, and everything else just keeps going down if it's left untamed. So that's the importance of keeping and giving your mind, whether it knows about who and what it is and who it's not or not, you need to give it some idol of worship. If not, it's like the genie. It's going to subtly, in small ways, create very interestingly small, innocent desires, and then later on, if left out of control to do its bidding, to do its work, it's just going to keep increasing the quote moreness, and it's going to keep getting bigger. So it doesn't matter if you know this or not, find something to worship. And this is we call karma yoga. Something that is worthwhile to you, something that you love. For me, it's Vedanta, and it's also a business. For you, it's something, but you need to find something. Okay, because we all have the same minds, and the nature of the mind is to externalize its perception and be fascinated by the world.
So the thing to worship is an external.
Yes, it's because it's all external, so you need to give it something that is so attractive to you that you would not want to do anything else other than that. That is you're so passionate about. If left untamed, then the mind will start to divert, separate into many different interests.
So this is where you were talking about having a passion.
Yes. Could be whatever it is. I don't know. It's just endless opportunities.
But knowing that is will not fulfill that is not your source of fulfillment.
That's right. It's just to take care of your jiva, because by default the mind will run off.
It's just to keep your jiva happy, but that's not.
And for that reason, we have prayers, we have worship, we have morning prayers, whatever it is. So we're never ever negating anything. We're saying everything has its use if you know and use it in a ways, according to the analogy of the story, to keep the mind focused, coming up and down, up and down, up and down. And every time it comes up or down, it reminds you of yourself, of divinity, of the beauty and the joy and the love that you are. So it's not just any passion, it's a passion that is meaningful to you, that has some kind of reminder that I am that, Tat Twamasi. You are that thou art, you are that.
So I don't have any but I do,
yeah, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. Anything that makes us, reminds us of this is perfect. Yeah. India has no problem with this. You wouldn't have to say this to India, because they are just a culture of utter devotion, bhakti. And all of that just reminds them of the beauty and the divinity of God. Yeah, in the West, we need this especially because of the choices and opportunities that we have. And we can get into trouble in the West and nobody's even going to hold us accountable. Nobody will even know, right? Because it's such a free land. Australia is so rich and wealthy that it's so easy to run off and go, oh, I've got the money, I can enjoy myself. So we need something to keep our minds reminding us of who we are. Knowing that no matter what I worship, it's me anyway, but nevertheless, you're working with the mind. Because it's not separate from you anyway. Okay, now we're going to get into the text. The self-realized person. This is a quiz. Those who see no difference between a humble Brahmin endowed with knowledge and a cow and an elephant, a dog, or a dog-eater are wise. So if you make any distinctions between one object and the next, then by definition, that's not being wise. And now we know why. We use that metaphor of the H2O, the ocean, and the wave. Yeah? When the mind is rooted in the self, which means the mind knows its ever-present existence, consciousness, eternal awareness. In other words, the mind should know what the I means. Every time it says I, what is it referring to? It shouldn't forget. Hence, we have something of worship. Else, then it's not rooted in this I. Else, if mind is not permanently rooted in the self, sometimes it will identify with the self and sometimes with the small ego. And by that definition of the lights come on and then the lights come off, now I know, now I don't, that's still not by definition moksha. Moksha is, it doesn't, whether they're off or on, that's got nothing to do with me because I am Brahman. Okay. This awareness, ignorance, switching is not enlightenment. Enlightenment is one's mind is permanently rooted in awareness or the knowledge of that. not as separate. This is not I know. This is knowledge as the knowledge. You see that distinction? This is not a knowledge like this is black. See the separation there? That's me who's saying this is black. There's me and there's a blackness. This is self-knowledge is I am awareness as awareness, non-separate from it. Not I am awareness. It's like a fact. It's not a factual statement. It's not an intellectual statement. There's only me. There's only awareness. So there's no even need to say I'm awareness. Okay? That's the distinction.
Oh, I didn't realise that when you said stand in awareness.
Yeah.
So the Jiva's intellect is standing in awareness.
Yes. Yes. Standing in awareness is just another pole. You see? It's another tool to remind you that I am that. You always know your awareness, but you still use the pole analogy as a reminder, and that's what we call standing in awareness. Owning that which is true through an affirmative statement.
So standing in awareness as awareness is still Mithya.
Yes, because you're using the words and the words are Mithya.
Yeah.
But because they're inseparable, the H2O, the water and the wave are inseparable, there is only Brahman, you see? So it doesn't matter that it's all Mithya. That's now the next part of the teaching, it's irrelevant because Satya and Mithya are eternally together. The H2O is never separate from the water, and the water is never separate from the waves, and the waves and the ocean never stop. They're constantly in flux, in change. So this is freedom. Now you know, yes, there is change, there are words, there is affirmations, there is worship, but it's not separate from me. And because I love myself so much and there is only me, why not worship it? Because it's all me. Whether I worship it or not, that still is me. You see? That's why these practices, ultimately, it depends who's practicing them. If you're practicing it and as a silent affirmation that it's bigger than me or separate from me, we will never know that. Only you know that. In fact, you probably don't know that either as the one that's worshiping. But if you're worshiping under the knowledge that it is just another wave, and the worshipper is also a wave, and both of the worshipped and the worshipper are both of the essence of H2O, then what's the difference? Whether I worship or not. But because it's so beautiful to worship and because you're so beautiful, you cannot help yourself but to surrender to grace of Ishwara. You see? So now the statements of, yeah, but that's just Mithya, that's no longer valid because the new teaching has come in. They're inseparate, because if you say it's all Mithya, you're back into separation. But now we realize there is no separation. You see?
So they're different, but they're not separate.
Yes. You see how we cancel what we taught until a new teaching comes up and then you have a further understanding? That's how Vedanta works. So the conclusion is, if now through this teaching you are offered an opportunity and you say, yeah, it's all Mithya, you're back into duality. You see? Because now you understand it's all Brahman, it's all you. That's why there's no difference whether I worship a girlfriend or Krishna or a cockroach or cow poop or Jesus or Buddha or anyone else. It's all me. When the mind is rooted in the self, meaning the mind knows what the I is referring to, the cycle of births and deaths is neutralized. Okay? The wise abide in the self alone. Why? Because it is free of defect and always the same. That's a no-brainer. If I'm abiding in something that's changing, then where's the refuge in that? Because even the mind itself is going to suddenly hop into some better version of that. So that's why the wise are always abiding ultimately in the self. Paradoxically, they're not really abiding in anything in particular because everything is Brahman. You see? So now I'm even canceling the worship. Now you don't even have to worship because everything is, your body is also Brahman. So the wise abide in the self alone because it is free of defect and always the same, and that's freedom. Those who are established in the self as the self, non-separate from the self, by virtue of hard and fast self-knowledge, which is what we're here for and what's being taught, do not rejoice when their desires are satisfied, nor are they disturbed when undesirable karma arises. Why? Why are they not disturbed? One that's established in the self as the self. Why are they not disturbed when there's a big wave, ginormous wave that is going to have a lot of crashing down power, or a small cute wave? Why are they not disturbed by whatever wave pops up? That is good karma or bad karma? Why not?
I know that because I would know that I was just the awareness.
Yeah.
Big wave or small wave.
Yeah. And that which is appearing as bad karma or good karma, it's like the ocean and the wave, but I am not the ocean and the wave.
You are as well.
Yes, at the same time. That's the paradox. The ocean and the wave are me, okay? But I am not the ocean and the wave. See that distinction? Okay, let's take this even further. Let's use a spider and the... okay, the web is of the spider, but the spider is not of the web. The spider being an analogy for consciousness, and the web being an analogy for, well, Maya, because it is but web. So whatever happens in the web, as the web, it doesn't affect the spider. All right, and let's just see a few more notes here. Okay, we refer to the self as limitless. So you are limitless. That's the statement. What does this mean, limitless? What does limitless mean? What does it mean to say, I am limitless?
I think of it as like infinite possibilities.
Yeah. And that's very close. And it's, yes. It also means that it is never, nothing can limit it. Nothing can bound it. Nothing can restrict it. Nothing can compartmentalize it. It's always free of the thought, because remember, consciousness is your experience. Okay, your experience right now is consciousness plus thought. That's your experience. Everything is thought. Maya is a thought. Body's a thought. Mind's thought is a thought. Everything's a thought. Your experience is consciousness, Satya, plus thought, which is Mithya. That's your experience, is it not? I mean, if you have some trouble understanding, and just take your thoughts in the mind, right? There's awareness of the thought. So consciousness plus thought. Same thing in the external world. There is only consciousness. Why is there only consciousness? Because you're aware of the world, plus thought in the form of different waves, different elements, different constituents causing different colors, different shapes, different periodic table of elements to occur. So limitless it's never bounded by thought. That's why thoughts have a chance to consistently show up. One moment you have this thought, another moment you have that thought. But it never contaminates the substratum. If the substratum, that is the consciousness, was contaminated, then it would still have remnants of the previous thought, and that would color in the next thought. But it doesn't. In your experience, it doesn't do that, does it? When you're happy, you're not still depressed from yesterday. And when you're depressed, you're not still happy from 2 days ago, right? You're either depressed or happy. There's just total clarity of whatever is going on in the moment. Yes?
That's just showing me the whole consciousness plus a thought. So the whole of Ishwara too.
Yeah. Is a thought, yeah. Ultimately, it's just a thought. And that's your experience. On a microcosmic level. On a macrocosmic level, it's the total thought.
So, Sattva, Rajas, and the energy, the vibrations of energy.
Yeah. Yes, there are qualities of the makeup of. You see the elements? You see the elements? Okay, so even the elements are from the Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas. The combination of Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas create the universe. So they are the highest. See, that's the highest there. And first, at the beginning of creation, there is only Sattva. That's how we define Ishwara 2. Ishwara 2 is pure Sattva. Okay, we're getting to different territory now, and we're going to the details of Ishwara. We don't have to do that yet. There's sessions that will cover those details. Okay, so that's what limitless means. And let's finish off with criteria for liberation. This will be as a backup to the self-realized person.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay.
I sort of thought came in to the subtle body area of the intellect, mind, ego thing. I thought the thought fit in there. But it doesn't. It's the whole of Mithya.
Yeah, it's the whole. There is no separation between it. It's just for the purposes of breaking it down, and then together we put it. It's like synergy. You have to break down the parts and then put them together. See, there is no, it's sattva first, and then it's rajas, and then it's karma, and then it's subtle. It's all one package together. Okay, but for the sake of teaching, we gotta break it down, because that's the only way the mind can understand it. Criteria for liberation. If you feel you're missing something, I want or I don't want, then you're not established as the self complete. This doesn't mean that you can't witness the ego think of incompleteness of desire or anything else. Right? That's still going to show up. It's never going to end, because the ocean and the wave are eternal as much as is H2O or water. They're one and the same. And the waves are going to keep popping up in a form of thoughts. But because of the knowledge you now know, despite the fact of them showing up as waves, they're not my essential nature. I am that because of which they are known. Okay? And let's summarize. The self-realized person is rooted in the self as the self, and this ends the cycle of birth and death. So that means that as long as I don't have this knowledge and I haven't embodied this, then because of my association with the body and the mind, that is the thought causes rebirth. Because every time you identify with the thought, okay, this is a new teaching, that I, the word I, identifies with the thought, and that's what causes the association with the rebirth, because the I gets, the thought is superimposed over the I, and so it has no choice but to manifest again. Now, when you realize that the thoughts are not me, where's the logic in the superimposition? It's impossible. So therefore, the birth and the death cycle, the samsara, ends. Okay, a mind that knows its ever-present existence, this is the mind of a wise one. It knows its conscious eternal awareness. And just a reminder, only the scriptures say if one's enlightened. We don't get to say, because we're incapable of saying that. We have limited knowledge, so we need a checklist. We need that which is a universal experience for the wise people. So the scriptures get to tell us. If somebody says I'm enlightened and they have no ideas about the scriptures, it's very likely that they've taken it under a subjective term of what it means to be free from the world. That's why we need the scripture, and that is why also the spiritual world is not very successful, because who wants to offload their control to the scriptures? Not many people, you see. They're too smart, they're too intelligent. I've got the control, I'm smart, why do I need the scriptures? But we need the scriptures to lead us. That's how Upanishads are taught in Bhagavad Gita, by referring to the same undeniable, unquestionable, universal experience for all wise people, and then seeing if you match those qualities. Therefore, we need the scripture. And very important is they remain neutral, you see? Neutral face, whether I win or whether I lose. They abide in the self. Why? Because the self is always the same. It's free of defects, and everything else is defective. Meaning what? It means it changes through the course and by the nature of the wave in the ocean, which is always moving. There is no refuge. There is no rest in something that is one form, but then it changes eventually into another form. You cannot have any rest there. So that's why the wise abide in that, which is always the same, and it's ever present, and you already got it, which is your awareness. It's that simple. And let everything else, the whole world, be at itself, because it's just a dream anyway. It's just a dream anyway. So there's no need to save the world, because you're saving something that is unreal. Remember, like 500 years ago, and all this Roman Empire business, they thought they were most powerful. Where are they now? See, it's a deluded thought. We think I am in power. I think I'm taking refuge in my wealth. But where are they now? That's what we call unreal. Something that comes and goes. A jiva needs something to worship, else the mind is like a wild bull, it will run off. And Maya is, the freedom is understanding Maya. And of course this session and yesterday has been about understanding Maya. Hopefully now our understanding is a lot more complete. And the self can only be accessed through self-knowledge. As we've mentioned already, this is not an experience. There's nothing to merge with. There is no great epiphany to be had. There's no plans to take and then learn something new. Remember, this is all pervasive. Brahman is all pervasive. So any experience that you report back is no different than the most mundane experience. The best experience is no different than the most mundane experience, because they're both of consciousness. So all of these desires for seeking other experiences, they stop. You can see the logic of that now, can't you? Because everything is you. Everything is Brahman consciousness. Sarve bhavantu sukhinaha, sarve santu niramaya, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kaschit dukkha bhag bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. May all be happy, may all be free from illness, may all behold good things, may no one suffer.